8 pawns, a rook, knight, bishop, queen, king, bishop, knight, and another rook. You've got your 8 pawns. You have your rook, your knight, your bishop, your king, and your queen, which starts on a white square. Bishop, knight, rook. The youngest player chooses which color they wish to play. White moves first, and players take turns moving one piece at a time. No pieces except knights may jump other pieces. They can only move along unlocked paths. Your piece may not land on a space already occupied by another of your pieces, but you may capture an opponent's piece by landing on it. Any piece can capture any opposing piece, regardless of their respective ranks. Remove a captured piece from the class board and replace it with a piece that captured it. The king can move one square in any direction. The exception is a special move called castling, which will be explained later. However, the king may never move into check, that is, onto a square threatened by an enemy. The king is the most important piece on the board. Trapping your opponent's king defeats it and ends the game. This is called checkmate. The queen has more power than any other piece. She can move as many unoccupied squares as you want, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. Because the queen is so powerful, use her wisely. You don't want to lose her early in the game. The rook moves either horizontally or vertically, as many squares as you want, as long as its path is not blocked by other pieces. The knight moves a total of 3 squares, either 2 squares forward, backward, left, or right, and then it makes a right angle turn for 1 more square. Imagine the letter L as the path your knight travels. And remember that it should always finish its move on a square of opposite color from the one on which it started. The knight is the only piece that may jump other pieces as it moves. The bishop moves diagonally, as many unoccupied squares in any directions as you want. Each player has a bishop that moves on dark colored squares and one that moves on light colored squares. The pawn moves straight ahead and 1 square at a time, except when it captures an opposing piece. Never backward. However, on each pawn's first move of the game, you can choose to move it 2 spaces instead of just 1. Pawns only capture by making a diagonal move forward, 1 square to the right or left. The crossed ones on the diagram indicate the squares in which a pawn can capture opposing pieces. If your pawn crosses the entire board and reaches your opponent's back row, the pawn is immediately promoted to the rank of any other piece except a king. This means you may have more than 1 queen, 2 rooks, 2 knights, or 2 bishops on the board at one time. Here's a hint. Choose to make your pawn a queen, the most powerful piece in the game. Special moves. Castling. In order to protect their kings, both players may castle once during a game. Castling allows you to move 2 pieces at once. Move your king 2 squares right or left toward one of your rooks, and then place the rook in the square on the opposite side of the king, nearest the middle of the row. Castling may only be performed if certain conditions are met. This must be the first move of the game for both the king and the rook. There can be no other pieces between the king and the rook. The king cannot pass over or land on an opponent's piece. The king cannot be in check.